Shout out Mikey T, the movie star. We live on Report Card Radio. You mean? Get your grades up, baby.
So, Bump, I wanted to ask you about the mixtape that Beanie Siegel recorded with the Major Figgas. How did that all come about?
We we ran into Beans at different times. You know, Gil ran into Beans in the syrup house in South Philly. And I ran into Beans battling everybody in South Philly. But in the end, you know, I guess Beans wound up coming up to my aunt's house. Used to come up there, you mean? Used to sit around, you mean? Go through music and shit. And he's like, fuck. I think it was Gil. Gil and Beans wound up talking to Cosmic Kev. It wasn't even Cosmic Kev. It was, what was his name? Wongus. They wound up getting with Wongus. And it's like, you know, we should come up. We should do some shit, you mean, for the radio. Wongus wound up, you know, plugging it into Kev. Kev set up the studio time, and we went to the studio, and we just bombed out. A couple freestyles, and then went to the radio live. It was like every weekend thing. Like, we was going up Power 99. If it wasn't all of us, it was a couple of us, and we just lighting the radio up. And Kev took the freestyles from the studio and the freestyles from the radio, and then a couple of Beans songs that he had recorded, I guess, with Rockefeller, and put them all on a mix, put them all on a tape, and starts out on the tape. So that's how that went.
All right, so that sort of gives me an idea of the structure of that tape. Was it like all of you? Was it Beans featuring Gil? Beans featuring...
No, it was no shit like that. It was just Kev called the Figgas, Kev called Most Wanted, and Kev called... No, that's it. Kev called the Figgas and Most Wanted and Beans, and we all went to the studio, and we all were in the booth at the same time, like no one after the other. They threw the beat on, we all stood around the mic, and we all jumped in front of the mic and went crazy. Just how it always was. Whether it was the radio or the studio, that's just how it always was.
What was the project called?
Cosmic Strictly Skills. Kev presents Beanie Siegel, or the best of Beanie Siegel, one of them. Beanie Siegel and Major Figgas, yeah. The best of Beanie Siegel and Major Figgas. Cosmic Strictly Skills presents the best of Beanie Siegel and Major Figgas. Yeah.
All right, so what do you remember most about going up to those studios, recording in the booths with Beans? What was the impression that you had got from doing all that?
It was fun. I mean, you got to, like, at the time, like, we was rock stars, like, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? It was regular. It was natural. It was fun. I mean, it was just fun.
I mean, in the sense, like, had you started to believe that, were you guys forming as a group, or was it not like that?
We were already a group. It was no believing. I had already had a deal. You mean? Yeah, we believed, we knew. Like, I mean, I had already had a deal. So it wasn't like, you know, I believe this is going to work. We knew it was going to work. It's just when. Because, like I said, I already had a deal, so it wasn't the hype about getting signed. I was already signed.
So in our last interview, you actually mentioned that you were running around battling cats, and that's actually how you met Beans in a battle. But the one thing you never answered was, who actually won that battle?
It never ended. What happened? Crazy. What happened? We get down there, and you know, Beans was behind. He was in the playground. So he was behind the gate of the playground. I was in front of the gate in the playground. And we had the beat, the instrumental we was rapping to. I can't even remember what instrumental it was. I wish I could. But we would put the tape in and, rap to the instrumental and rewind it. Because, it wasn't CDs at the time. Well, we weren't riding around with CDs, let's say that. The cars had tape players. So we would rewind the song. And Beans did the Monopoly. First, I went, then Beans went, and then I went, and then Beans did Monopoly. And Monopoly verse was so long that the beat went out. And when the beat went out, Love for Gillie came on next. And when he heard Love for Gillie, he stopped. He stopped before he even ended Monopoly. And was like, yo, that's Gil. That's Gillie. That's Gillie. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's like, you know Gillie? I'm like, it's my man. It's my bro. He's like, call him. And I called him. Like, yo, nigga Mac wanted me to call you. I put him on the phone, and Gil came down and got locked up the same. Hey, Gil came down. We started rapping. The cops came. Gil had weed in his pocket. And when the cops came, Siegel like, everybody come in the playground. The playground, they can't touch you if you come in the playground. And Gil didn't make it in the playground in time. And he put him against the joint, found some weed in his pocket, ran him in for some weed. So it never ended. It stopped. It stopped. Actually, Beans went first, so it stopped at the beginning of the second round. Only rap one time.
Wow, so Gillie the Kid getting arrested actually prevented the battle from ending.
No, actually, Gil coming on the radio stopped the battle. If Beans' verse was short, we would have rewound the beat and he would have never heard Gil. But he spit this long-ass verse. I know y'all heard Monopoly, and if not, y'all can go check that joint out. One of his craziest freestyles. But it was so long that he out-rapped the beat, and then Gil's song came on next, and he just stopped like, yo, like, that's Gillie. Like, yeah, I know. So, yeah, Gil's song stopped the battle.
I spoke on meeting Jay-Z and Dame Dash. What do you most remember about that meeting?
They couldn't stay in their seats. We was in the studio, and they was sitting down, and they was like, go ahead and rap. And I think I started it off. And from the beginning, once I started, Jay stood up. And probably the middle of my verse, Dame stood up. And by the end of my verse, Spade was coming on, and Dame had these bitches with him. He had probably like 4 bitches with him. Then all them bitches stood up, and the whole room was standing. The room went from sitting to standing to like, god damn, like, it was crazy.
Wow, man. On another occasion from that, did you ever get a chance to talk with Dame Dash, and what was it like?
Nah, we ain't do too much talking. Like, it was all in the beginning stages, so it was a lot of business going on. So I wasn't really talking to Dame or Hove like they was talking to like the management and everybody. Or more so, the only artist they would talk to was Speed, Lada, and Gil. They were the oldest. Like me, Dutch, Bianca. Chops. We was like the youngest. They were the oldest. So, and with a group that big, you can't talk to everybody. You got to talk to one person at a time, and it was like a lot of relayed messages. Or a lot of like speakerphone conversations.
Did you ever get a chance to build with AR-AB?
AB from the hood, AB from the block, like, of course, like, it's my guy. Free the men. Free mullahs. Free Braz, free A, free Kasi. Free the gang. Like, but hell yeah, like, shit, he recorded like his last 2 projects in my studio, like me and studio. So, that's my guy.
So could you tell me about AR-AB coming up as an artist, watching him blossom? What did you see?
A grew like, but A was always A. He was always who he was. In the beginning, he was just on the side of Cassidy. You mean he was the hound. You mean he was the hound. He was Cass. He was Cass. You mean bodyguard, damn near. Like you might as well say, like, you mean. But he started rapping. I guess that's, he built this flow running around with Cass. You mean, and wound up getting locked up. And then that's when I really started. When he came home, that's when I really like got a whiff of Ab. Not the running around with Cass Ab. Like I didn't really know that Ab. Like he was from the hood, but Ab, like, I'm from 18th, Ab from 15th. You know what I mean? So we never like hung out. Like, we knew each other. Like his brother, Mullahs, started the Goonie Gang with the youngest from my block. You know what I mean? So the Biggs. Shout out Biggs. Shout out CeeLo. You mean CeeLo got sturdy? Sturdy Vision on YouTube. One of them, I think, is Sturdy Media or something. Anything sturdy, that's the gang. You mean? But shout out CeeLo.
Oh, definitely. And, shout out to them.
Definitely. So Mullahs was always around my youngins, and I really took to Mullahs, his little brother, because Mullahs used to hang on my block. And when Ab came home from his bed, from the body with Cassidy, he started doing his own thing, and that's when our relationship started getting cool. Ab wasn't like the rapper's rapper. You know what I mean? Ab wasn't the rapper's rapper. Ab was, who he is. Like, who, you see the videos, the Vlad TVs and all that. You know who he is. So, no, we didn't sit around and, one day I'm going to make it and, one day I'm going to... No, I wasn't on that tip. We sat around and that's the nigga that we had real conversation. I say me and him didn't have no conversation to be about this, and me and Ab had real conversations. So, we talk about rap, we talk about the streets, we talk about bitches, So,
So, Bump, I wanted to get your take on what you actually thought when AR-AB and OBH caught the federal indictment. How hard did it actually hit the city?
Shit. It hit the hood. It hit the hood hard as shit. That's our guy. Like, that's to see somebody you come up with, go to jail and they say, chances is he ain't coming out of jail. If you lose, that shake a lot of shit up. Ab fed a lot of niggas in the hood. So, niggas had to, get it how they live. And, you got family in the hood. Like, he's from the hood. So, his family affected, and, his family cool with everybody. We all together. We all one umbrella. It's the same. It's Erie Avenue. So yeah, it hurt. It hurt to see something like that happen, because it didn't just take Ab. It took a couple good niggas. Like I said, Mullahs, Braz, Kazi. Took a lot of good niggas, man.
Bump, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me on this today, man. It's free AR-AB until he comes home on this side.
Always. Free Mullahs, free Braz, free Kaz, free the men. You already.